Hi there, this is Paula from Coach Class at mycoachclass.co.uk, and welcome to this short video on how to schedule and run your webinars. Now, I'm using GoToWebinar, so I know this is a very popular webinar platform. It doesn't mean that this is the one that you have to use. However, most webinar software, the platforms are very similar, so it's not so much about the actual mouse clicks and keystrokes and so on, the menus that you click on, as the process and what you need to do. So let's make this a little bit less daunting then. So I'm at my login page at gotowebinar.com. So I'm just clicking login here. And it takes me straight away to my webinars, but what I'm going to do is schedule a webinar. And this is just going to be a test webinar, so here we go. Test. It's November 21st, 2013, starting at, I'm going to schedule it for 4 PM. Ending at 5, so when you click into the end time it automatically updates it for an hour, but you can change that if you want to. I'm in the UK, so it's GMT for my time zone, but you would change that as appropriate and then click schedule. And it's not the most imaginative of names, but that's okay. Now then, if you have a look, the right hand side here, we've got two buttons, practice and start. So you can start your webinar straight away or you can practice it. So we're going to practice it in a moment. If we just check the details are okay. Now this is really important here, the audio section. So your participants can use their computer's microphone and speakers, so via VoIP or telephone. So that means that they can just log in onto the website and listen using a microphone and computer speakers. You can dial in, but it's a bit more expensive. If you're going to do this, then use Skype credit because it will be a lot cheaper. So that's an alternative if you don't have, for some reason, a computer, microphone and speakers, or a Skype phone. You can also share your webinar out, so you're going to want to do this. Now I do this via my mailing list software if I want to get lots of people onto my list straight away, and this is the detail that I give them in their email. And the rest of this is really straightforward. You can add polls and surveys as well if you want a bit more audience engagement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the practice option, because I don't have anybody actually on the line to talk to on the webinar, so I'm just going to practice. If you just give it a moment, really everything that comes up here now you just want to agree with. So we want to launch this application because what it's telling you is that there's a small external application to handle GoToWebinar, and that's the software that's going to be used. So you just click launch application and just let it do its thing. It will take as long as it takes. It's usually not very long. So when you're actually conducting your webinars, it's really important that you log in plenty of time. Give yourself about 15-20 minutes beforehand so that you get in and you can actually test. You can do this practice run. And here we go. Here's what we need to see. Okay, that's handy to know. So we're going to have a bit of beeping quite often through this. It might freak you out a little bit when you hear the "you have entered as organiser," because most of the time we enter as an attendee in listen only mode, so that probably sounds quite familiar to you. But what we have here is the full control panel that the organiser gets. I'm just going to show you the options here. So you can hide this control panel. I'd advise you not to, because we can get a bit click happy when we're nervous and hide the control panel. It can be a bit scary. So let's just show the control panel. Okay, now then, when you're practicing, it's a good idea to have your microphone on mute, and have it on mute until you are ready to start your broadcast. So I'm going to mute this because at the moment people can hear me, so click to mute, and there you go, you are muted. Now take notice of these messages because it will save you a lot of hassle. Okay, no one can see my screen at the moment, so I can click to start screen sharing. That's not easy to say. So I can choose to show my screen, or if I've got applications open, I can show those. And you can see how much stuff I've got open at the moment because I'm extremely busy today writing this program for you. But I can show any of these things, and there you go. I can show my application, or I can just show my screen. Okay. I can pause this as well if I want to, so there you go. That will just stay put. So that means if you've been racing ahead by accident with your PowerPoint slides, for example, you can just pause and catch up. Okay, when you have attendees, you might want to hand over the control of the keyboard and the mouse to somebody else, because they might be you might be presenting a webinar with them. They may be guesting for you, so you can hand over control and then take it back. You can make another attendee the presenter, so you can go and have a break. And there's also drawing tools as well. I don't ever use this actually. It's not a bad idea. It's kind of a shared whiteboard thing, but I tend not to use it. These buttons here, these are the main buttons that we use, and again the repetition of the smaller ones in here. And I'm just going to expand on these as well, because you can see there's a plus sign and then we've got a minus here. So you can collapse and expand this view as you need to. And at the moment we can see here what my audience can see. So all of the audience can see the screen. And this is exactly what they can see. When there's nothing showing, it's just the webinar information that they get there. Okay, I'm just going to collapse that again. The audio settings, mic and speaker, and you can see as you speak that the settings here change. Okay, and the dashboard, here we can see how many attendees we've got, but we can also see whether or not they're actually attentive, so if they're active on the call. If there are any questions as well. So the dashboard is really important to have open, and you'll be able to see any questions. So now I've got no questions because I'm just practicing, but if you click on this, you'll be able to see who's asked a question. And you can also send a private message back to the asker, or you can send a message to all attendees. And again, just close that when you're done. Your attendees, it will give you the list of names alphabetically, and these will tell you who's available to talk, who's able to take over keyboard and mouse control, also whether or not they actually have you in the foreground, so that shows you if they're attentive or not again. Any attendees that have not yet had their questions answered. The raised hand, this is really useful as well. Just can you raise your hands if you can hear me? We can ask that at the start. Everybody's on mute, which is what you need to have, otherwise you get feedback and family noise in the background. This shows your staff and anybody that's listed as a participant with you. And you can invite other people, so just email them, and then any polls and chat. So the little chat room there, and you can type messages to everybody. And polls, if you want to get, how many out of all of you agree with X, Y, and Z. It's good for attendee engagement. Okay, the other options here, if you click into File and choose Preferences, the webinars and the recordings, actually it's the recordings option we'll look at. I don't use GoToMeeting integrated audio or recording GoToMeeting format because it's not Mac compatible. You want to make this accessible for as many people as you possibly can, so I convert it to a Windows Media Player file, and this is easily converted later onto an MP4 file so that you can make it available in smaller formats as well. I'm getting a reminder as well. I'm scheduled to start in 15 minutes. Do I want to start it now? No, for now I want to continue my practice. And OK. And just to go through what's available here, just so that you can see. I don't have attendees able to view the attendee list as a rule. This is just personal preferences. And these are things that I can see. These are my default views in this control panel, so anything with a tick next to it means it can be seen down here. And just so you know where things are going to save, by the way, your recordings will save in your Documents folder. Okay, right, we're going to be brave here. We're in practice mode, so we're going to start. Okay, and it's fine, there is nobody here, but it's saying attendees are still on hold. So here's what we're going to do, and here's the process for all webinars as you run them. You want to be able to start your broadcast.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
You want to show your screen. And you want to take yourself off mute. The number of times I forget to take myself off mute. There we go. And when you're ready, now I'm not going to do this because this is purely a practice, you start recording. Okay, so you make sure that you're in broadcast mode, that your attendees are no longer on hold so that you can see that you are on air. Your screen is showing, whichever option you've chosen there. You are no longer on mute. And then finally, start recording. Okay, so I'm going to put that into a checklist for you, but that's the basic process. Pretty much all of our webinars run in this way. That's the key thing that you need to remember, the key process that you need to remember. And really, don't be afraid of this. It's very straightforward to use, and the thing is that sometimes technology does fail us. You know, you might find that your own Wi-Fi connection falls over. Sometimes the webinar software can freeze. It's very unlikely and doesn't happen very often. The thing to do is to set expectations at the start and say, while we're not expecting any technical issues, if they happen, this is the process. And just make up your own little script to begin with, just to make sure that everybody's calm, happy, you're calm and happy, and everything's okay for you to get started. Webinars are just great, and it'd be a shame to not have this in your toolkit for when you're putting your programs together. So enjoy and just take your time with them. And that's it. When you are done, you just choose to exit and end the webinar. Your recording will save. So I'm just going to exit and end the webinar so that you can see that. Your recording will save. It will save into your Documents folder. When you're ready and you want to use this as a replay, you choose My Recordings. Here's how much storage space you have, and upload your recording. It says each file must be less than 1 gig. They will all be less than 1 gig, so you've nothing to worry about there. And then when you're done, it gives you a link that you can share out however you want to for your replay. And that's it. I hope that's